you know that our runners are ready with the next run. Scooby-Doo, Night of 100 Frights, any percent, no CE with Nestani and TFxMortal is coming right up.
Hello everyone, welcome to Frights. So today, me and Mortal are going to be hosting a Mortal, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Mortal. I'm the one who's going to be racing Nestani today.
And Cole will be helping us out on commentary today. Cole, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Coley, and it's a pleasure to be here.
All right, and timer's just going to start as soon as we hit new game. So is everyone ready?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, I'll count down from 3. 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights is a 3D platforming Metroidvania, meaning that we have to get various upgrades throughout this run in order to progress to new areas. But we're actually going to dodge a lot of these upgrades and just bypass them altogether in this run. And the first thing that you're going to notice is that we're actually going to come to this side room here. This side room is called Mystic Playground. This is mainly an area where the game teaches beginner players or new players to the game basically how to play. And we're actually coming here exclusively for these things called Scooby Snacks, which is this collectible that we are currently running into and making this little chopping noise. And basically we need these to pay snack gates throughout the run because snack gates are basically like obstacles that we have to pay a certain amount of snacks in order to access a new area. Some of these are skippable, but we have some unskippable ones that we must pay throughout this run. And the reason that we go out of our way is because we are trying to prioritize the fastest snacks in the game, because the last snack gate we're going to pay is 850, and we pay 5 other snack gates, and they all scale up to the 850. So this first one's 25, which you might be like, this is a little small one, but trust me, they get big.
Here in Clamor 1, we're going to hold upright to move a tiny bit before the cutscene fully plays. And then we're going to attempt kind of an annoying jump called rail jump. No, chandelier jump. So hopefully we hit it. I got it. Nestani unfortunately didn't, but it's a really annoying jump. Then we're going to talk to Holly, who will give us the map invention. And then we're going to actually jump on some invisible ledges to reach these high up snack boxes. And because this is an old game, there's just invisible ledges on some walls, and we're actually going to be using them later on in the run to do some major sequence breaks.
Yeah. And as we load back out into Mystery Machine 1, we're actually going to talk to the groundskeeper and get the shovel upgrade, which, fun fact, the groundskeeper is voiced by Don Knotts. And,
What?
Yeah. And apparently Scooby needs a shovel in order to dig, which is also kind of weird, but we don't question it. It's fine.
All right, and here in Shock 1 is a great time to mention cycles. So in this game, anything that moves is on a cycle, which essentially is platforms and enemies. And in this level, they're actually going to try and do a cycle towards the end of the level called Rat Cycle, where there'll be rats moving back and forth. And the goal and the idea with knowing these cycles is so that you can use it to your advantage, so that you don't get hit, or that you can just go through things a lot faster. So right there, you saw them both do Rat Cycle, and there's going to be a lot more cycles where this came from, and we will be very ecstatic and happy to point those out to you guys.
And here in Shock 2, we're going to be greeted with Shaggy for the first time. He's going to come down on the Pelican and give us an unskippable cutscene. But basically, he tells us that we need to throw him up onto that life preserver and swing from his legs. But we're actually going to be skipping this minigame entirely by doing a jump without holding run onto this crate. And this is the first of many times in the speedrun where we'll just be skipping Shaggy's minigame entirely because it's pretty slow to do. And then here you'll notice after jumping over the caveman, there's lots of hooks, and as Coley mentioned in Shock 1, all of them are on a cycle, so me and Nestani know exactly how they're going to move and how we can move around them. And then we just paid our second snack gate of the run, the 50 snack gate.
He's making me hungry.
Okay, and then here in Pier 2, we're going to be we're introduced to the tar, which basically allows Scooby to only walk. And at the beginning of Tier 3, they're going to try and do what is called tar strats, which saves a little bit of time, but with a frame perfect jump, they can actually skip portions of the tar. Very nice, Mortal. Yep.
Smile.
That's okay, because next we're going to collect the next big major power-up, the springs, and do a trick called pause storage, which is essentially when you quit the game and unplug the controller at the same time, you can actually boot up a debug menu, which allows you to access the warp gate, basically just how you warp around the world from anywhere, not even requiring what normally is a warp gate. And Mortal and Nestani are attempting it right now.
Both hit it.
Very
No.
nice, guys. Very cool.
Game is.
And yeah, and as we load in to the next level's Edge on the Hedge, we're actually going to use our double jump that we just got to acquire this key, and we're going to make our way to the hedge maze. And the main movement mechanic that we're going to be using throughout this run is Scooby's charge attack, or just his dash, or whatever you want to call it, which is this charge attack that we're using right now to move throughout this level. And we're normally just meant to just bonk into enemies and hit buttons with this mechanic, but because Scooby moves so fast during this dash, we're actually going to be using it as our main movement tool throughout this whole run, in order to just speed up, the entire run, right? And an interesting note about his dash is that at the beginning of it, he actually slows down, and at the ending of it, he speeds up. And the interesting thing to note there is that actually if you use this dash over short distances, you will actually slow down and actually move slower than if you just didn't dash at all. So there's a lot of little interesting spots where you're going to notice us dashing and notice us not dashing, depending on the length of how long we will dash, because we want to use the max length of his dash rather than just a little short one or a medium one. We're trying to really maximize every single dash in every level. And up here,
All right,
we're going
and
to be
then
doing
here
a
in
trick
Hedge
called
3
SS.
is where we're going to talk about.
There you go.
Sorry, my internet is so bad, guys. I'm so sorry. But we're going to do a trick here called Skull Cliff Skip, or SCS. And essentially what this trick is, my internet, holy cow. But this trick actually saves 2 minutes, because normally we would go through this entire long length of levels where there's like an auto scroller and all this sorts of different types of stuff. So instead what we're going to do is we're going to go through this gate right here, and you guys can do this trick right at home too. All you have to do is hold up left, and you actually just go right here into Misbehaven. And the idea of going into this level specifically is that going through these Skull Cliff levels backwards is actually way faster than going through those way longer and auto scroll type levels. And both of those levels actually meet up to the same place that we want to go, which is Hill 3, which has the next big power up that we have in store for us to collect, which is known as the helmet.
Here in
We're entering Skull Cliff right now.
Yeah, and here in Skull 4, me and Nestani are actually gonna begin climbing out of bounds to jump into the void. And the reason for that is because in this game there exists a failsafe called a void wall. And pretty much, if a casual player accidentally got out of bounds at some point, they wouldn't just be falling into the void forever, it actually teleports them to the beginning of the level. And as Coley mentioned, we are going through these levels backwards. So we can actually abuse this and get teleported to what the game thinks is the beginning of the level, because it is. But that's exactly where we want to go. And that skips the longest level in any percent.
Yeah. And as we load into Skull 3, we're going to be trying to make 2 cycles in this level. One is it's like a medium-sized cycle. It's just this platforming cycle that we're going to try to make, which basically is pretty free. But the second one is actually a really tight cycle where we can actually get a snack next to a caveman without moving or jumping around him. And if we make this cycle, it basically is just for swag, and it's just kind of just, you know, it doesn't really do that much because normally you can just get the snack by just jumping anyway, so you don't really lose out on the stack, but it is just impressive to hit the cycle in general. And as we load into Skull 2, we're going to be trying to make another cycle known as Boulder Cycle. And basically just the idea with this cycle is that if both me and Mortal dash in the same way throughout every single one of these levels, we're going to make the same cycle while collecting every snack possible along the way. And basically, making Boulder Cycle means just walking past this final boulder without having to jump around it or getting hit by it, and making our way into Skull 1. where we're gonna kind of do a Hail Mary jump, but there's a lot of ledges on the side of the wall here. Sometimes they can be finicky and you can just fall straight down, but usually they are pretty consistent and you can jump off of them, and we're gonna ladder our way up, and we're gonna be put out into helmet 3.
All right, so here in Hill 3, the runners are immediately going to try and make another cycle. We call this one Boulder Cycle. And later on in the level, there's actually a boulder that rolls down the hill that the runners are going to soon attempt to climb up to grab the helmet power up. And if they play fast enough and if they take the right angles, they can actually run past the boulder instead of jumping over the boulder or running into the boulder, which is obviously slower. And there you go. There's the falling boulder, and then there they are running right past it. And once they get the helmet, normally what you would do when playing this game is that you would go into the levels known as the Mystic Manor, where it's a bunch of super long, convoluted levels, and you actually fight the first boss, the Black Knight, and obtain the Galoshes power-up. But here we're actually going to skip that entire section of the game. That makes up 25% of the entire game. So what they're going to do here is that they're actually going to Death Abuse and warp to Shock 2, where we will perform the skip. Essentially what the skip does is that you jump on a collision on a barrel, and then you jump over the invisible wall, preventing you from entering the fishy levels, which you would normally unlock after going through that entire 25% of the game. So here they are doing the trick. And there you go. We just skipped 25% of the game.
Here in Fishy 1, we're going to see the introduction of the conveyor belts, which show up in Fishy 1 and Fishy 4. And pretty much how these affect Scooby's movement is if they're going with Scooby, he moves much faster, but if they're going against Scooby, you have to do almost frame-perfect jumps at times to try and keep Scooby's momentum throughout the level. And that's why some runners actually consider this to be one of the hardest levels in the game, because you just have to, it's so hard to efficiently go through it, collecting the snacks and using the conveyor belts.
All right, and here in Fishy 2, we've been talking a lot about snacks and how they're important to unlock gates and stuff, but we're going to delve a little bit deeper into that and what that actually means. So, when runners attempt to run this game, what they do is they set up what's called a snack route, which is essentially they're labeling out all the snacks that they're going to collect throughout the entire run. Because the idea is that you want to collect the minimal amount of snacks as possible, since that would be the fastest. You don't want to collect too many, but you also don't want to collect too little, because then you're just going to waste more time. And so you saw that in like levels like Misbehaving in the beginning when they were in the playground, they only entered those levels because of snacks. And those snacks are much faster than snacks that you would or that you could get in the end game, which is much slower. So they've routed it all out, they're following the snack routes, and you're actually going to see later on when they enter levels like Aghast, where it's just loaded with a ton of snacks. Getting those snacks is actually much faster than getting other snacks around the world. And here at the end of Fishy 2, they're coming up to the level Fishy 3, where they're going to hold right to make a platform cycle, which will allow them to jump over an invisible wall that skips basically half of this level. And here you see them running up the platforms, and the invisible wall is right there. And you see all those spinning platforms in the background. Those are just so annoying to deal with, so we just decide, hey, let's just skip them. And you're also going to see down here, mentioning about these faster snacks, jumping down here and collecting these snacks is actually so much faster than collecting some other snacks around in the game. You're also going to see them do this at the end of this level, Fishy 4 as well, where, surprise, the conveyor belts return. But instead of being incredibly annoying like in the first level, these are actually way better because they more or less point you in the direction that you really want to go, and basically gives you a straight shot to the door, where we'll be paying our first huge snack gate. But before they do that, once again, they're going to drop down to the floor right here, collect some of these Scooby snacks, and now they're going to pay a 450 snack gate.
Yeah, and if we have any readings, this would be a good time to do them.
I have a donation here from Zelo for $30. It says, here's the $30 I owe for one reset and one death in Doom Guy Booty 64. Better make this donation quick before hell rears its ugly head. Booty? Back to the booty chat. Here we go.
All right, and we're actually going to enter Coast 1 now. And one thing that we didn't mention about Scooby's charge attack is that his hitbox actually shrinks to his head, meaning that if we aim our head away from enemies, we can actually dodge them and not get hit by them at all, while it may look like we should get hit by them. So right here, we're going to slip by this caveman, and just by using and abusing Scooby's charge attack, just like that. And next, we're going to try to dodge a cutscene here, which is basically if we jump on or over this pole, we can skip a cutscene, which Mortal did flawlessly, and I'm about to try and do. And then we're actually going to make our way to the back half of Coast 1, which is filled with these things called snack boxes. Now, snack boxes are worth 5 snacks and not just 1 snack that single snacks are. And so, in general, we want to prioritize snack boxes more than singular snacks throughout the run, unless the singular snacks, of course, are in what is known as a snack line, which is just a line of snacks that are just relatively close together. You're going to see a lot of those in later levels like a gas, but especially in Coast 3, most notably, you're about to see us do some more of this. And you're also going to see us really abuse Scooby's charge attack in the next level, Coast 2, by basically just going to dodge and weave around these enemies in order to make a really tight cycle.
So as Nestani just said, we're going to be doing way more of that charge movement tech you saw with the caveman in Coast 1. By just tilting Scooby's head away from the enemies, his body just becomes invincible, and you can make very fast cycles. Like that very tight one there, where Scooby just barely avoided getting crushed while collecting snack boxes. And then the rest of the cycle's really lenient, and we just enter into Coast 3 very fast.
Yes, very fast.
Yeah.
And then here in Coast 3, we're gonna kind of mirror what we did in Coast 1, where again we're gonna go to the back half of the level to collect some extra snacks. And the way we're actually gonna do that is that if we actually touch the water in this game, it's an instant kill, and so we just die immediately. But instead, what we're going to do is that actually, if you get damaged by an enemy in this game, you get iframes. And so we can actually become Great Dane Jesus and walk across the water, just like Mortal just did there. We're basically just damage abusing off of this flying fish here, and just walking directly across the water to get to these boats in the back half of the level to collect these really quick snack lines. And you're going to see Mortal jump on this invisible fishnet bag, which is only on certain versions of the NTSC version of the GameCube game. Fortunately, we both have them, so you're not going to see any too wonky things, and we're going to pay our 500 snack gate, which is the last one we need right before our 850 snack gate. And you're going to notice that our snacks are very low and nowhere near 850.
He hung up on Great Dane Jesus.
Yeah, so if you're coming into Which Way, you just saw Mortal and Nestani here at the beginning of the level do what's called a frame perfect, which basically, if you press the charge button and let go of the charge button, repress it again, or if you jump and out of the right frame, you actually skip the bonking animation for when Scooby is charging into an object, which you're going to see Mortal do right here.
So at the beginning, we're gonna try and get a frame perfect on that button. Unfortunately, I didn't get it, but then we're gonna begin circling around this floor to grab some more snack boxes. And the goal of this level is pretty much to make a tight cycle at the top with the lamp from the button we just hit. And the way we do this is even more of that charge movement tech that you saw in Coast 2. By just putting Scooby's head away from the enemy, we go through them. And the power-up we're going to get at the top is actually going to be the final power-up of the run, surprisingly. Even though there's many more in the game, we are going to skip them very soon. But the power-up we're going to get is called the Super Smash, and it's basically just a ground pound where we can hit enemies from above and smash through floorboards now. And that'll help us get to more levels of the game. So I'm going to smash these floorboards and go into Lighthouse 2.
Yeah, and if we have any more readings, this would be a good time to do so before we get to the final gauntlet of the run.
Absolutely. I'd like to remind everyone that we still have some incentives open that we have not yet met. Of course, the most exciting one, well, the one that I'm the most excited about, they're all very exciting, is the Trans Samus incentive for Super Metroid. And if it's met, Garby Color Stars and Freya's will play a trans-colored Samus with a rainbow-colored beam. We are looking for $500 to unlock that. We're sitting at $2,280. You know what? Let me refresh that. Let me see if any. All right, we're sitting at $2,290. I'm sorry about that. So we are a little bit closer to that goal, but we still need $210 to unlock that really awesome incentive. Please do get those donations in for the Trevor Project and donate towards the Trans Samus incentive.
So here in Hit Which Way, we actually just did a sequence break, technically, by skipping the Green Ghost and getting into the shipwreck levels early. But the reason we're here isn't to get a power-up or anything, it's actually just to collect snacks. There's a decent amount of snacks in Rec 1, but we can also do a skip here in Rec 1 to get to the final level of the shipwreck levels. And since that level is right before a 750 snack gate, they put a lot of snacks in that level. So by getting there just really quickly, we can go and grab all of those snacks for ourselves to get us closer to that 850 goal.
All right, and here entering a guest 3, we are now in the end game. And right here at the beginning of the level, they're actually going to do this. Looks like a really easy jump, but trust me, it is really hard. Bonking onto this fish right here and grabbing that life preserver. Boy, I've ended runs so much there. But as Vorto mentioned earlier, look at all these snacks. This is going to be really useful for trying to meet that 850 quota. And as I mentioned before, we do want to collect the minimal amount of snacks as possible, but also the fastest snacks possible. And they're going to warp out of this level to Shock 2 to go into the creepy levels when they're on their way to do 2 of the toughest tricks in the run. Back to back, these tricks are called RBS and GGS. RBS stands for Redbeard Skip, and GGS stands for Green Ghost Skip. I got it right this time, guys. So basically, these tricks are both really, really precise tricks, which allows you to jump on invisible ledges by timing your jumps right. And you can actually skip the bosses Green Ghost and Redbeard, which a total makes 50% of the game.
Yes.
So we basically skip almost all the bosses except the final boss, and that is 75% of the game. So we're only playing through just a quarter of what this game actually is. And coming up here in Creepy 2 is actually where we're going to perform RBS. And then immediately right after that is GGS. So the endgame can get pretty intense, especially if you are on a world record pace or a PB pace. It's coming up right here. Mortal's just going to go to the side real quick and collect some snacks over here. Ignore Shaggy, and then just grab the key by jumping on this invisible ledge right here, and that accesses where we're going to do Redbeard Skip. So he's going to jump to this wall right here, and then to the left, hopefully landing on that other ledge. One attempt. Third time's the charm.
This is a very finicky trick.
It is a very finicky trick. As I mentioned before, it is very precise. There you go. Nestani just did it. And now we're going to immediately go right into GGS, which is a bit more precise. But the faster that you do it, you can actually make a way better enemy cycle. As you can see, the bats are flying around. The faster that you do it, the better the cycle it is. And if you do GGS first try, it's actually called half bat cycle, which allows you to just blaze through this level a lot more quickly. So you're going to see the runners now jumping on this table full of just electricity and attempt to do rail jump. And as you can see up there, there's rails, and with those rails, there are invisible ledges that you can jump on. And up there is the button to turn off the electricity in this room, which will allow us to do the final skip, Leo skip, and see that 850 snack gate we've been continuously talking about, and fighting the final boss, the Mastermind.
Yeah, and you're going to see Mortal jump up these seemingly invisible ledges, but they're actually very visible. You can actually view them from the bridge at the top where the 850 snack gate is. And basically, you just climb up along this wall, and we're basically just jumping along the wall the whole time that we're doing this. And you're going to notice that while me and Mortal were going out of our way to collect, we both ended with exactly 850. And that is because, again, we were only collecting the fastest snacks, so while it may seem that we were kind of like going out of our way and it'd be kind of cringe, you're like, oh, what are you doing? We're kind of like going into all levels. It is actually the fastest thing we can do. And you actually just saw Mortal do it, but he just did similar to SES. He just held up left on the D-pad, and he clipped through the wall and just skipping, saving Shaggy again. But if you're worried that Shaggy got eaten by a shark, have no fear, because in the back of this room here, he is alive and very well, standing in the back with everyone else. And we're actually going to skip another cutscene. We're going to just slide through that wall there. And basically that wall just skips the first phase of the Mastermind boss fight, which is basically 3 waves of enemies, and we just cut it down by 1.
So here we're going to be attempting a frame perfect on this button. I just got it, and in this fight,
Nice.
each frame perfect saves 1 second, so you can actually save a lot of time just from getting frame perfect hits in the Mastermind fight. I unfortunately didn't frame perfect that robot. The robot ones are the hardest to get because obviously they're moving, but we can also try them on the stationary buttons, and you're going to notice that we're going to push the Mastermind into the electricity when he spawns, and that's when time is going to end, so that's going to happen very soon. Mastermind's going to spawn on the floor here, and it's going to be the only point of RNG, only point of real RNG in the run. So, ideally, we want him to spawn close to this button, or this button, but if we're really unlucky, he'll spawn late, and he'll spawn at the very back, so let's see what we get. Yep, at the very back, and quite late, of course.
Dang.
But we're just going to slowly push him up to the electricity, and time is going to end for me in 3, 2, 1. There we go. And that's time for me.
Yeah. And timer's gonna end for me pretty shortly here as well. And because we're just gonna wait for Mastermind to spawn, hope for a good spawn. My luck is notoriously bad on Mastermind spawn, so let's see. Honestly, not that bad. We got a 2-hit spawn.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
We can essentially get a 1-hit, 2-hit, 3-hit, or 4-hit, and my time's about to stop right. I missed XD. My time's about to stop now. And yeah. And so that's Scooby-Doo out of 100 Frights. Any percent. What were our times? Pause chat?
You know, I see the timer is stopped at 24:50. Let me see. I'm sorry, I did not make a note of like the earlier time. I apologize.
Oh no, don't worry about it.
Thank you so much.
Alright, pretty good. We both made it within the 24 mark. Nice.
Yeah.
All right, and Mortal Cole, if you want to go ahead and shout yourself out real quick.
So you can follow me at twitch.tv/TFxMortal. I do lots of 9100 Fright speedruns over there.
And you can follow me at twitch.tv/Coley_02, where I also stream this game a lot.
Smile. I'm at twitch.tv/Nestani. You can follow me. If you're interested in running this game or just getting to know, or just have any questions for us, the best place to do that is just through our Discord, which is linked on the SRC page, on Scooby-Doo Not 100 Frights SRC page. We also have all the other Scooby-Doo games within that one Discord as well. So if you're interested in any of them, that would be the place to go to. And I just want to thank Power Up with Pride profusely for having us. Personally, for me, the Trevor Project is a charity that I really like, so being able to support it in any way, shape, or form is a huge honor for me, and I just really thank you all so much. And yeah.
Thank you so much, Nestani and TFxMortal, for that incredibly close race of Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights. Now, don't go anywhere. Coming up on deck, we have the Legend of Heroes Trails from Zero.